everybody, my name is Sean Pierce Johnson. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be checking out a very cool new generation of Enya Music's self-amplified guitars in the form of the Inspire. Now I want to make one small note before we get into anything a little bit further on this guitar. When Enya first reached out to me about doing a video on this guitar, I saw this gray model and I thought, this looks excellent. The gray color with the gold hardware, that's a great contrast, and it just really kind of helps put forward that message of a premium product as opposed to the Novago Sonic in all black that I looked at last year. But I had no idea that this was actually a signature version of the Inspire. Although I wasn't aware of him before I got started on this video, this is actually the signature Inspire of Oziel Zinho, who is a Brazilian guitarist and musician. He has his own YouTube channel with a lot of great resources if you are a native Portuguese speaker. So if you want to go check him out, I'm happy to give him a plug because he spec'd out a really beautiful version of this guitar, and I'm very excited about this one. So let me tell you a little bit about the specs so that we can get to hearing how this thing sounds. Done up in this beautiful matte gray is a completely carbon fiber instrument. The body, the neck, the headstock, it's all carbon fiber. And although maybe not as lightweight as some carbon fiber instruments, given that it's got internal modeling and speakers and whatnot in it, it is a very comfortable guitar to play for extended periods of time. Now clearly we are in the S-style territory of guitar design with the Inspire, but Enya's gone and given it some curves that are very, very different than just a standard S-type clone. The neck on this thing is a bit of a wacky one. Why? Because on the website it lists the scale length as 24 3/4, not necessarily something you see on an S-type instrument. And it also has 24 frets, nickel silver frets, I should add, and then a 16-inch fingerboard radius. What this neck is, I don't know, but I do have this to say about it. It plays incredibly well. Not to mention, it also has an asymmetrical profile. So this thing just fits in the hands like a glove, and just, I mean, it's a pleasure to play. That's really all I can say. I also want to mention these inlays, which I really dig. Offset from the center towards the top of the fretboard, and they're kind of in this nifty half pill shape, I guess is what I'll say. I just think it looks really cool, kind of helps with the forward-reaching image and vibe of the Inspire. Now we focus on the traditional guitar electronics, an HSS pickup configuration, all custom designed by Enya, and a single volume control with a 5-way blade selector. However, this is a push-pull volume pot, so you can split the bridge humbucker into a single coil. The whammy bar on this is a take on the modern two-post style whammy bar, not tremolo, whammy bar. Remember, this is a pitch effect, vibrato, not a volume effect. Tremolo. Good. Glad you remember that. And it functions very well. It actually settled into tune pretty darn quickly, maybe within a week of me getting this guitar. And ever since then, I've been doing subtle kind of things, wavering chords, Jeff Beck, Michael Landau kind of weirdness, and even doing some dive bombs. And the guitar stays in tune rather well. But of course, the hallmark of Enya's electric guitars is the built-in speaker and the amp and effects modeling. You have the master volume control right here, which is just a nice big arcade-style button. You turn it up, turn it down, and if you want to turn it on, you press and hold, wait for a little ring light around to light up, and then you have yourself the self-amplified version of the Inspire. And I have to say, this is a 15-watt speaker. I don't remember the spec on the Novago Sonic, but there's something about this, which we'll hear later on in the video, that seems like it's a bit more of an improved version over the Novago. Now, as if it weren't enough to get the Inspire guitar and have all the necessary tools to make your adjustments, then you have the USB cable and wall wart to charge included with it. It all comes packaged in this very sleek gig bag, which is very nicely padded. A bit rigid, not too rigid to the point where it feels like a hard shell case, but I just love the fact that more and more companies are really starting to include stuff like this with their instruments. And it's also a knock against companies who are selling instruments $500 more expensive than this, that they don't still include gig bags with it. What are you doing, people? Include the stinking gig bag. One other cool thing that Enya has done with the Inspire is that they've created a wireless Bluetooth foot switch to allow you to cycle through the 4 different presets that you have programmed onto your Inspire. It's nice to be able to do that with your foot rather than pressing this button every time you want to make a change. Now on the side of the guitar is our inputs and outputs. We have a headphone jack, so if you want to practice silently in headphones, you can go ahead and do that. Your standard guitar output jack, 1/4 inch, you can run into your guitar amplifier, pedal board, or even direct to your DAW if you would like. Then we have a USB-C port, which you will use to charge the built-in amp, effect, and speaker on the Inspire. And thankfully, Enya includes a wall wart and a very sturdy USB-C to USB-C cable for you to do that charging. Couple small spec mentions, and then we'll get to some sounds with the Inspire. There is a spoke wheel truss rod adjustment on the neck, so it's very easy to access. And it includes a special tool that you just insert right into the holes, and you can make your adjustments as you see fit. But what about the whammy bar if you want to adjust the spring tension on that? If we flip it over to the back, they've gone ahead and they've gone with a spoke wheel claw adjustment on the whammy bar, which I have never seen before, and I think is a really cool thing. Although I tend to like to have the 2 screws because I kind of do the Carl Verheyen sort of angled approach to the whammy bar to help these kind of guitars stay in tune. This is something really cool, and I love that I'm seeing it on something like this. Something fun about that. And there you have it, my friends. That is the Inspire self-amplified guitar from Enya Music. So, how can I sum this up for you all? Well, quite frankly, as a guitar, I really like this thing. It is very comfortable in the hand, has a good weight on it, and there's a lot of great sounds in here. The pickups are maybe not as bright or aggressive as some other pickups in similar modern super strats that I've played, but that is not a big problem for me at all. I'm very surprised with the whammy bar. It is great at doing subtle and even doing some extreme stuff. You can't pull up that much on the reverse of it, but that's not a problem in any way, shape, or form. And although I do feel like a lot of improvements have been made to the built-in speaker and the built-in amplification, it still has some of the shortcomings that I experienced with the Novago Sonic, specifically centered around the app. I would really love to see it expanded out, a few more effects, a few more amp types, and also the ability to swap orders of things in the signal flow. To close, I want to say thank you to Enya for sending this guitar my way, and to all of you for spending the time and watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you want to support what I do, click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Two very small, simple things that you can do, but trust me, every time one of you does it, it helps the channel out a lot. But if you'd like to go a little bit beyond that, join my email club. I send links to all my videos direct to your inbox, and I also keep you up to date about what's going on here in my musical world. You can join that at the link in the description box down below. And if you'd like to buy an Enya Inspire for yourself or any other gear that you might have your eye on, you can support the channel at the same time by using my affiliate links. They're all in the description box down below, and they're to places like Sweetwater, Zounds, Bola Guitars, there's a bunch of them. But every time you use them, a small percentage of the sale comes back to me to help fund the video making that I do here on this channel. And thank you all so much for spending part of your day with me. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And until I see you next time, I'm Sean Pierce Johnson, wishing you all watching great tone, great health, and happy stomping. Cheers, friends. God bless.